Go. All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. So we are here to talk about our homecoming to the church next Sunday on Pentecost. And if you haven't gotten the message already, wear red.
And your mask.
And your mask, yes. Or red mask, either way. There we go. So the members of our reforming team, we'll start there, are myself, Carol Griffith, Keith, Sandy Curlin, Regis Nesbitt, and Tim Smith. We were tasked with crafting the guidelines for our safe reopening. And we've had conversations with the SLC regarding these. We conducted 2 surveys to get the pulse of you guys to see where you were with everything that's going on, and we were monitoring the COVID cases and the vaccination rates. And we procured the supplies and prepped the sanctuary for reopening. So I think we're ready to go. And we came up with our guidelines based on all of these factors, and I think we're ready for a safe reopening. And in order to be safe, everybody needs to do their own part. Get vaccinated if you have not already. Stay home if you're not feeling well or you have a temperature over 100.4 degrees, or if you've been exposed to someone with COVID in the last 14 days. We're asking that you don't bring food or beverage into the sanctuary, and remind everyone that the 6-foot social distancing between households is in effect. And as you're in the building, follow the signage, and if you are asked to go home, we ask you please do so. And just pay attention to any communications that happen by the church office or any of us members. And a big one is we still need more ushers. So if you are willing to serve as an usher or greeter, please let Sandy Curlin know that so she can get you trained and ready to go. And let us know any feedback you have, and pray for safe return. We're excited to get back. Church will be a little different. We're controlling access to the building, which we'll get into in a little bit. There will be a health and contact tracing check-in when you enter the church, and masks are required. Again, social distancing between households. We're doing a one-way directional system through the sanctuary and the first floor of the church so that people aren't crossing each other, because those hallways are very tight. A lot of the pews are closed off for safety reasons to keep that 6-foot distancing. Only the accessible restroom will be open at this time. And we're asking that you bring your bulletin with you, if at all possible. It's emailed out in the e-weekly. You get it off the website. There will be printed copies available if you forget to do that or not able to. And worship will look a little different for a while, but that's okay. So when we arrive at church, the only entrance that will be open will be the accessible one. And if we have enough ushers or need to, we will open the Ward Avenue or Fairfield Avenue, sorry, entrance. But we're only going to guarantee that the ramp will be open at this time. And again, follow any directional signage. The ushers will point you in the correct direction. There will be a temperature and health check that will happen at the foot of the ramp. If it's bad weather, it will be inside the lobby. And that health check is just answering the question, have you had or been exposed to COVID in the last 14 days? And then our contact tracing check-in will be in the accessible lobby. And that information is just so if somebody in our congregation says, hey, I was at church last Sunday and now I have COVID, we can contact you all and let you know that. Those names and emails and phone numbers will not be used for any other reason, just for contact tracing. And again, follow the one-way system as you enter and exit the sanctuary. We'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. And the ushers will give you any directions you need. And there is hand sanitizer available at several stations throughout the sanctuary. So this is what the one-way traffic will look like. You'll enter through the ramp, you'll go around the hallway past the restroom and enter the sanctuary from the Ward Avenue side and follow that direction around. The only entrances to the pews are from the side aisles. Anyone with mobility issues can go in the door on the parking lot side to get to those seatings without having to take a long walk around. And then what we'll notice about worship is that we'll be wearing our masks at all times. There will be no welcome table or welcome table materials. We're not going to use name tags at this time. The hymnals and Bibles we've put in storage so that we're not having a lot of items being touched. Again, there'll be a limited number of bulletins printed. We're encouraging you to print those at home or look at them on your phone. We will have a vocalist that will be doing the singing for us. And our offering plate will not be passed. It will be placed in 2 separate locations within the sanctuary. One at the Fairfield Avenue side of the sanctuary and one near the accessible entrance. And communion will look a little bit different. And then assisted listening devices will be available for those who need it, and we'll ask that you clean them and return them at the end of service yourselves. After worship, if there's any specific dismissal announcements, we will make sure you know about those, but we still ask that you follow the one-way system to exit. However, you don't have to go back out the accessible lobby. If you're closer to the Fairfield Avenue door, feel free to go ahead and go out that door. And just don't linger in the sanctuary after the service. Go ahead and leave, go back to your car, and maintain that distancing as you're exiting. And we ask that you please keep your mask on until you've exited the building. And again, hand sanitizer is available in several locations. And we're just asking that you avoid close contact with anybody that's not a close family member, just for that distancing and being safe. Ushers. Sandy can speak more to this, but we really need more ushers. Sandy, do you want to elaborate on ushers?
You're muted, Sandy.
I think she's here.
I'm mute. I'm sorry, I'm on mute. Thank you, staff. We need 3 ushers for every service. And as an usher, you will have one of 3 jobs. You'll either be at the first contact point where you do the temperature and ask the question about COVID, at the second contact point where you check in for contact tracing, or the third station is in the sanctuary, and that's the captain, who will troubleshoot and keep traffic moving and help things move along. We're asking that all ushers arrive an hour early because we do have to put things up every week and get things ready, and we want to do that as well as we can. You can see the list on the screen of who we now have as ushers, and we would be really happy to have you join us. So if you'd like to be an usher, just contact me. You can, my information's in the directory. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, and I'll be sure you have everything you need in order to help us with the usher duties. So please, instead of wearing these few people out, let's get some more folks so we have a good rotation. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. And now it's for you guys. What questions do you have?
Sandy, can you review a little, this is Sue, can you review a little bit the 3 pieces? Like we're doing the temperature check and the question about being in contact with COVID, and then what's the contact tracing part? Are we registering that we were at church
No,
on
here's,
any given day so that you know who to contact, or how is that working?
yes, after you come up the ramp and into the building, in the lobby, there will be a table with one of the ushers who will ask you to sign in. If you're a regular attender, a member, or someone who's on our list and comes all the time, there'll be lists that are divided alphabetically by last name, and all you have to do is check that you're there. You don't have to fill anything in. There'll be container for clean pens and dirty pens. So you pick up a pen, you use it, you drop it in the dirty pen so that nobody's using the same pens. If you are a guest or someone who's not been there, there'll be another sheet which you will be asked to give your name and contact information like cell phone or email or both, just so, and they'll all be dated so that if, let's say on the 23rd, someone calls us to that and says, I've been exposed to COVID or I have COVID, then we can get in touch with the people who were at church on that day to let them know that so they can check with their physician. That's the only use of that contact sign-in information. At that same station, there will be hand sanitizer, and that usher will then direct you on to go to the sanctuary or to go directly in if you're a person with mobility issues to enter the sanctuary to the left.
Super. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
May I interject just one thing that is kind of different that I don't think was said, and that's that the center aisle of the pews is not used by anyone except persons that have mobility needs. So that'll be kind of a different thing.
I would add that all the pews are roped off, so you can't actually get into the center aisle. So, except for people who are heading back to the accessible seating.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I don't have a question. I'll just say a statement. You know, we know that the guidance from the CDC and the Kentucky Governor's Office is changing all the time. So we're starting out this way. We may have to change things quickly or reverse gears, who knows? So bear with us as we try this experiment is all I will say. We hope that at this point, everyone understands that we're just trying to keep everybody safe and get us back to church.
And for those of us, it may be Stephanie, I'm just asking because we're not rehearsing on this Monday for bells, but for those of us who come early because we need to rehearse, we're obviously not, we will already be there. So even with the ushers coming an hour early, somehow we're just going to self-check, self-scan at some point, and then will we take the bells and the tables and all that stuff, wait until everybody's gone, so we should stay in order to break it down, even though everyone else is going to be asked to go right after worship, but not to have us moving around in between and wait for everyone to leave?
Yeah, as far as the handle people coming early on this coming Sunday. Yeah, I'll take care of asking you all the question and doing your temperature check. So I'll check you guys in before the ushers get there.
Okay.
And yes, I would say we need to wait until people have left to take down the handbell. So
Stephanie, I just wanted to say, please come to church early. We can't have everyone arriving at 5 till 10:30 or at 10:30 because the service will be shorter than usual, and it's going to take a little bit of time for people to do this. It's not going to take a lot of time, but if everybody arrives at 10:30, you know, there's not going to be much church left to go to by the time you get in there. So please come early. Come 10, 15, 20 minutes early and just, make it easy for everybody. We really would appreciate that. Thank you.
Just a note along with that, there'll be some extra music on the first Sunday back at the beginning, so you might enjoy that. So I agree with Sandy. Come early so you can enjoy the music as we gather.
I don't know if everybody else is having the same problem, but I couldn't understand what you're saying.
Are you referring to me or someone else?
Yeah.
And you were breaking up, Keith.
Was I?
Yeah.
Well, I break up a lot. What I was saying was coming early not only helps in getting everybody there in time to start service together, but that the first Sunday back, there will be some extra instrumental music as we gather. So that might be an incentive for you to show up, and you can share that with other people as well. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Unless anyone else has questions, I think that's all we have for today.
Before we go, I'd like to just thank our reforming team. They have been very diligent. They have done lots of hard work and still have work to do. Everything that this team has done has been for the sake of our whole congregation's safety, and also just to be conscientious of the needs of the common good of the whole church. So we say thank you to you all and appreciate your help and diligence.
I just looked at my calendar, Keith, and I saw that our first reforming team meeting was 54 weeks ago.
Wow.
That's been a long time ago.
By the way, there's a real good chance that your pastor will be crying through the service, because just talking about this over the last few days, I found myself in tears around how much, we miss being together and how difficult this has been in so many different ways. So you might want to bring your own Kleenex, because we don't have those available in the room. And I'll have a big old red handkerchief. So
I would add that I think it might be a little awkward on our first few Sundays back. So please extend some grace to everybody and kind of be in the spirit of making this work.
And with the revisions and knowing how quickly things are changing, I think it's very confusing. I mean, it's confusing for a lot of people, but when you hear like the updates from the CDC and what they're saying, and then yet here we are in a more restrictive time and trying to come back together, but it's really not what the CDC is saying, which is different than what the state of Ohio is saying. So just in terms of being gracious with people, I know it can be confusing, and there's a lot of seemingly conflicting information about what is acceptable and not acceptable, and how we live into that. And I mean, at my work, we're going to be masking for who knows how much longer. We're still in all of that hyper time. But then outside of that, there's a lot of information that is different, and depending what state you're in, it's different. So just also kind of keep that in mind, I would say.
one thing else I thought of that I don't think was stated is that only the first floor is open. And we're only open for worship on Sundays at this particular point. So just wanted to let you know that.
Any last words, anyone?
Wear red.
Wear red, yes.
Wear red.
red.
And we'll see you next week.
Okay. See you soon, guys.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sherry. Good to see you.